Thank you, friend. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back. This week's Parsha, Noach, covers the story of Noah and the flood, God's covenant with man, and the story of the Tower of Babel. But I want to begin with how the last Parsha ended. It ended with the story of the sons of God, or the angels, being attracted to the daughters of man, taking them as spouses, and breeding the giants, or Nephilim. It was at this point that God capped man's age at 120 years. And we are told this group, these children were the heroes of yore, the men of renown. And friends, so many cultures talk about these men during what was known as the Golden Age. And as time went on, God's view of this was, and the Lord saw that the evil of the human creature was great on the earth. And the Lord regretted having made the human, and said, I will wipe the human race I created from the face of the earth, for I regret that I have made them. But the Bible immediately continues, but Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Friends, the earth was corrupted, and it took less than 10 generations for it to be so corrupt. Don't look at it now. Unfortunately, in today's day, we are corrupting not just the earth, but the air and the sea and all the creatures. And we are told that Noah walked with God. Only one other man walked with God prior to this, and that was Noah's grandfather Enoch, who many believed became the archangel Metatron. In rabbinic tradition, he is the highest of the angels and serves as the celestial scribe. Our sages talk about what it means to walk with God. In the entire Bible, it was reserved for very few. Abraham walked behind God, and even Moses, who stood with God, who talked with God, who challenged God, did not walk with God. Good day, sunshine. We take a walk. The sun is shining down. Burns my feet as they touch the ground. Noah is told to build an ark. Close your eyes for a minute, friends. Think of Noah and the ark and all the animals on it. What do you see? I bet you see a boat. Noah was not instructed to build a boat. The word used was tabah, ark, which is a box. It is a structure that has no keel, no rudder, no sail. It is the same word used for the basket the baby Moses was placed in. Is this, friends, one of the first stories of tests of faith? And after everything was loaded, God closed it up for him. God does key things. God made clothes for Adam and Eve. All they could do was grab a few leaves, and God closed the door for Noah. In the early parts of the Bible, the close contact between God and man is strong, culminating in the Mosaic relationship in Sinai, and then it diminishes until God virtually disappears from the Tanakh as the Torah ends. Now, how this appeared to the ancients is not how it appears to us. For us, this was a boat floating on the water while it rained, but for them, an air bubble surrounded the earth, with water above and water below, as relayed in the creation story. And the apertures opened in the air bubble, allowing waters to rush in at the same time as fountains of the deep opened up, allowing the water to rush up, with this box floating at the mercy of the elements. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. This story is a story shared all over the world. Most cultures have a flood story, and the biblical one is closest to the Mesopotamian one, which the people would be most familiar with. And their Noah was known as Utnapishtim, but there was one huge difference. The Mesopotamia reason was population control. Here it is due to the evil that men do. This is something that will come up again and again as we read the Torah, and the specific ages and time frames give this story a solemnity which changes it from mere myth. Here we also see the mixing of two different flood stories being edited together seamlessly. In one version, there is 2 of everything. In the other version, there are 2 of every unclean animal and 7 pairs of every clean one. And clean and unclean has nothing to do with eating. There were no rules on food consumption yet. It was about what was acceptable for the sacrifice to God. In one story, it is the rain that comes. In the other, the casements of heaven open to allow water in. God seals up the casements, the water recedes, Noah releases the raven and the doves, and when satisfied, makes a sacrifice to God which God is happy with. What is excluded from this monotheistic version of the flood story is any hint that God eats the Thanksgiving sacrifice. In most other cultures, the gods would eat from the sacrifice, but throughout the Torah, it is never done. It would be the odor which would be pleasing to God. The first Thanksgiving animal sacrifice led to the murder of the sacrificer, and Noah will be warned about the mortal danger of blood guilt, which will also play a role in the Torah as it develops. Noah is told that it is forbidden to take a human life unlawfully. Not ever, but unlawfully. Because the human is made in God's image, and there is to be retributive justice. And there is a play on the words, for the word for blood is dam, and the word for human is Adam. Throughout the flood story, God muses on human nature, and in Genesis 8:21, Rashi suggests God makes a formal oath when he says he will not destroy the earth again. He says it to himself, not Noah. His pledge to Noah takes place in a subsequent chapter. Humans as species seem to be continually in conflict with the good of creation, free will perhaps, and this too will be a dominant theme throughout the entire Bible. God makes the statement the human heart is bad from youth. And this comes back every time God thinks about destroying man, which takes place several times in the Sinai wilderness. And friends, keep in mind what Rashi taught. See the parts in view of the whole. The story culminates in God's covenant with Noah, which we are reminded of every time we look out and see the rainbow. So just what was it? A covenant is a binding agreement. And God says in Genesis 9:9, and here I'm establishing my covenant with you and with your seed after you. All flesh will not be cut off again, and there will not be a flood again to destroy the earth. Friends, this is the first of 4 contracts or covenants between the deity and humans, which provides the structure in which the Bible is framed. The Noahic covenant promises the security of the cosmos. The Abrahamic covenant promises land to Abraham's descendants. The Mosaic covenant promises well-being in the promised land, and the Davidic covenant promises kingship over Jerusalem and Judah to David and his descendants. And the covenants narrow and focus from being concerned with the whole world to a diverse group, then to a set nation, and finally to a family. And this will parallel the change taking place in these first few parshas, which sets the stage of the change from universal history to national history to family history. The parsha ends with the famous story of the Tower of Babel, which takes a wonder of the ancient world, the great Mesopotamian ziggurats, and transforms it into a monotheistic fable. The idea that man wanted to build it to scale the heights of heaven is a myth, but it paralleled and marked the true end of the Golden Age stories when man all spoke one language, and there was harmony on earth, and it furthers the belief that this action is a form of rebellion, like those of Adam and Eve and Cain. It allows the narrative to shift from dealing with the fate of a species to dealing instead with individuals. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Shabbat Shalom.